Hi, all you hungry people out there. Welcome to Hungry Cat Daily with Nick and Lance, the podcast where we'll be recapping every Garfield comic from A to Z. I'm joined today with my co-host, Lance Gilstrap.
Hey, Nick.
And we have a special guest today, New Yorker cartoonist Johnny DiNapoli.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. Johnny, how you doing?
Doing all right. Hanging in there. Excited to be here with you hungry people.
He's got the lingo down.
Yeah, Johnny, we like to ask our guests, I forgot to tell you this, if they have like a history with Garfield.
Oh, I do. Well, I've always loved cartoons like comic strips. And I remember like going to the library as a kid and I would always get cartoons. I think Garfield was like the first one that I really liked as a kid. I think there's something about like the colors and just like and probably just like the merchandise, but like I always remember seeing it either like at like the books or in the newspaper or anything at CVS. I feel like with Garfield. But yeah, and I watched the show, I watched the cartoon, but I don't remember it really. But I remember they had like a farm segment on it. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, they had. Yeah, the Garfield and Friends. They had their friends.
U.S. Acres.
U.S. Acres. That's it.
Oh, okay, but they never like met Garfield, right? Was he in that?
No.
They were
No.
his
I
friends,
think
but not in there.
I think they live in the
It'd be
Garfieldiverse.
Of course.
I would actually be surprised if there hasn't been a crossover. To be honest.
I think sometimes they would show up in the background of the Garfield show.
Oh, like they busted out of the farm?
Yeah. But like it would just be like something that nobody would ever address. It was very confusing.
Yeah. But I guess
It kind of
Mhm.
it kind of reminds me of like how Sergeant Slaughter was a person, but he was also in the G.I. Joe cartoon.
That one I do not know. But maybe he was a friend of Garfield's as well.
Oh, maybe. Okay, let's recap. But as a special treat, we're going to recap one of Johnny's rejected New Yorker cartoons first. Lance, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, so Nick has sent me just the picture. There's no caption. We have, as far as shapes go, a lot of squares and rectangles. We have like the cartoon is in a square, and then inside that square is a rectangle, and then in front of that rectangle is another rectangle that is acting as a desk. And you can tell it's a desk because there's a cup of coffee on it and what looks, I would assume, to be a talk show host, because he's wearing a suit and tie and sitting at a desk. It's a very talk show host thing to do.
And because he's a white man, right?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I can tell, it's a black and white comic. He's got I guess a pretty talk show hosty haircut, and he is turned to look to his right, audience left, and oddly enough, sitting in the talk show guest chair is a insect. I'm gonna say moth. I don't see stripes, otherwise my guess would be B. So I'm gonna say moth. He's got antennae. He's got big wings. I really like the wings on this. There's lots of stripy lines. And perhaps a beret on his head. Yeah, like a cartoony, French beret. And then it's he's got his last name. He's signed it under the square that's a desk.
And
Is that about coverage?
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't know if I was supposed to interject at all, but you got all the guesses on your on
Okay.
what was correct. So I feel like we both win for that. Everything
Do you
was
want to read the
identified.
Do you want to read the caption, Johnny, or do you want me to?
I don't have it pulled up in front of me.
Okay, I'll read the caption. The caption is a quote, and it says, "I love directing, but film isn't without its challenges. I often get stuck on the lights before moving to the camera and action." So it was a beret. He's like a director. He's a movie director.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's a moth. Yeah, he's definitely a moth because he's attracted to the lights. Yeah, that's funny. I like this comic. It's funny. I know that like New Yorker comics get kind of a bad rap of like, oh, I don't get that, but I fully get this. The joke is very clear, and yeah, it's really funny.
Oh, well, thank you. I felt this was a good hit for this show where it would, I don't know. Sometimes I'll draw a cartoon and I'll be like, it's very on the nose for like it's almost too New Yorker-y. And this one kind of feels like it, but it's also kind of a womp womp. Which I feel, but I'm very curious of how many lasagnas you guys would give this one.
Oh no.
I mean,
I'd give it I give it 4 lasagnas, 4 trays of lasagna, and that because that's me being honest. I could bullshit you and say 5 trays of lasagna. You know what? I'll do that. I would give it 5 trays of lasagna.
I mean, the stakes could not be higher.
You know what, Johnny? I'm not gonna bullshit you. 4.5 trays of lasagna.
That's honestly like a tray and a half more than I was expecting. That's good. I would love to have that as a blurb if I can.
Of course.
It does the that fun New Yorker thing of like, oh, it makes you imagine another cartoon in which the moth is like on lights flying away towards the lights.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the joke is in another panel that lives in your head. That's good.
If this were a Family Guy episode, then it would then cut away to that scene. Yeah.
Part of me was
Okay.
like, why don't I just draw him on set? But I kind of like the Hollywood schmoozing of this director and this talk show host doing it, but also just honored to be in the same conversation as Family Guy.
I like Family Guy. I know some people don't, but I like Family Guy. Okay, let's recap the Garfield comic. Lance, do you want to say what we're recapping?
Yeah, we are on Friday, July 7th, 1978. Johnny, do you want to go ahead and describe that first frame?
Sure. So we have our friend Garfield looking right at us. He's at a curtain. He's at a green curtain. It's a nice texture, and he's on the yellow floor. I'll say, pink background, which is the wall.
Pink.
Very normal color for people to paint their walls.
Right.
It's good. It's very relaxing. And Garfield, he's looking at us. He's smiling, and he is saying or thinking, "Ah, a curtain upon which to sharpen my claws," which he is doing. We have the date 7/7, the bottom right. I know you guys love. You take note of that. Is that normal? Do you guys normally find it in that first panel, or
It jumps around. Sometimes
it
he
depends.
signs and dates in the same panel. Sometimes it switches around.
I think it's
That
a
text-
state thing.
That texture is interesting, Johnny. I think it seems like a lot of your comics are drawn on the computer, right?
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff on the iPad.
But this must have been drawn freehand because
So it looks
Okay.
like the zooming in. So like the texture, it's like the wave shape, like that sharp wave. That just looks like line work. And then they have those dots underneath.
Yeah, that's just part of comics.
I think it's called zip tone. Although it might be a different. I get them confused. But the zip tone, it's now it's digital. But there used to be little sheets of those dots And what you would do is you would cut around them in the shape that you're trying to fill, in order to give some texture, because giving that texture, one, it gives the texture of the curtains, but it also helps differentiate like the foreground and the background.
We
Wow,
just thought it was
that's
part of comics.
Uh,
yeah, I did too. That is a fascinating fact. I have always wondered about that. Thank you for sharing.
so I think it's September. There's the other one, I forget what it's called. It's like the dots when you see like a Roy Lichtenstein thing. But yeah, it's also a way for when you do like, these are in color, but when you do black and white, when you can't print grays, by doing the blacks
Mm.
like that, like a pattern like that next to each other, it it gives it a gray quality when it prints, but it's only printing black and white, so it's still cheap to print.
And these would have been originally black and white, we assume.
Right, I think so, but
Right. We don't know if they would have been drawn in black and white, but they would have mostly appeared during the week black and white. Well, Nick, do you want to move to the second panel?
Yeah, okay. So Garfield, this one's a silent panel. Garfield, he looks distraught. His claws are still on the curtain, but the curtain is stretched out and it's all over the place. Garfield's face is distraught, as I said earlier. There's motion lines around his head and his tail, and it looks like he's. If I'm going to guess, I'm guessing that he's stuck inside the curtain. His claws are stuck in the curtain.
All right.
Yeah.
And then in our third panel here, we have Garfield in a very weird position. His claws are honestly in a completely different place than they were when he was stuck in the curtain. They're now above him. His hands are like turned backwards, like he's facing away from his paws. He looks very like defeated, very sad. He's hanging off of the curtain. His feet are lifted into the air, even though he could easily put them down. There's enough, like they're long enough to where he could just stand up. But his tail, it looks like he's bouncing on his tail. And he's like in big orange beach ball formation because he's round here. And he is thinking, I hate double knit, period. Which goes back to the texture of that curtain. It's a double knit, so I guess that's why he got stuck.
It looks like he must have broken his wrists or something, right?
Yeah, I don't understand how he could have flipped around to end up in this position.
it's like he dunked a basketball.
Yeah.
Behind,
Yeah.
and then was just hanging onto the rim. But the rim is a double knit curtain.
Yeah. And we know Garfield to be a heavy character. That's one of his defining traits, but apparently not heavy enough to take down the curtain. The same way
That's
that
right.
Shaq took down those backboards so many years ago when he was dunking the basketball.
The gravity of this panel is just like, you got some cartoon physics going on where like he's not really dug in the curtain, but he's very steady. He's very static. His tail seems to be resting on the ground fine, which again seems like he could just hop down. But yeah, this is quite the comic.
Okay, let's rate it.
Quite the arc, you know. This was.
Do we need to cover Gar first, Nick?
Oh yeah, let's do Gar first. I don't think there's any real Gar firsts here.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Okay.
So
now
let's rate it.
I mean, it's like a cat joke.
Mm-hmm.
What's the percentage of cat jokes in Garfield?
It's pretty high. It's pretty high.
I was expecting more, well, not to be crass, but more fat jokes and less cat jokes.
Yeah, I guess early on, you've got a lot of cat jokes to pull. Although he's already kind of recycling the same cat joke. Like we had a couple weeks ago, he was confidently on top of a bookshelf and then realized that he was stuck up there because it was too high for him to get down. And this is essentially the same joke, where he just gets stuck on the curtain.
I mean, I do appreciate the curtain pattern. It is does seem like more work went into that than typical Garfield backgrounds.
Yeah, there's some texture there.
The second panel's a lot of fun. I know it's just the action and I don't know, the shapes and the just that second panel by itself is a nice picture removed from the joke. The joke is bad.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not funny. I do I agree with that second panel. He's really captured the illusion of this curtain being all warped as he pulls
That's
away.
true. It's kind of like good physical comedy, but drawn.
Yeah, but again, he's clearly holding what looks to be a corner,
Yeah.
and then somehow ends up. Yeah, I don't understand. At no point, how do both of his hands end up, but both of his paws end up above his head?
Yeah, that's the thing that doesn't make any sense. How did he get to the point where he ended up in that third position? Who knows?
Anyway,
I doubt Jim
I'll give
Davis
it.
knows.
I'll give it 1.5. Trays of lasagna.
I'd go 1.25.
What do you think, Johnny? Is it against the cartoonist code to rate another cartoon?
Well, I think this is okay. I think enough time has passed. We can look back at this and say it might not be Jim Davis's finest work. I would give it 1.5 lasagnas. Wait, is that it's out of 4? It's out of 5?
Out of 5.
5.
Yeah, comfortably I can say it's 1.5 lasagnas.
Okay. I'll
Has
put it.
lasagna come up in the strip yet?
No.
No.
We're waiting for that Gar first.
Oh, okay.
That's gonna be a big go first. I'll put that at number 5 then.
Okay, let's rate it. Rank it.
Thank you. Yeah, we forgot to say we're gonna rank it. Let's rank it, and the music will have already played at this point. And now, we can say, Johnny, should we tell? Do you want to tell people where to find you on online and stuff?
Sure. I put a lot of cartoons just on my Instagram. It's I'm just Johnny.DiNapoli. That's most of it. Most of my stuff can be found there. I have a website, johnnydinapoli.com. Got some
Okay.
cartoons. Good stuff.
Thanks so much for talking with us, Johnny, and thank you all for listening and watching. You can rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever podcasts are found, or on YouTube, or send us your Garfield memories and drawings to hungrycatdaily@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at hungrycatdaily. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/hungrycatdaily. And until next time, stay hungry.
See you in the funny papers.